Emma. I had this idea for a while to do a what I ate and read in a day video. So I was thinking about doing a what I ate in a day video. I've done a couple of what I eat in a day on my channel really early when I started it several years ago. And I thought it would be nice to kind of do a new updated what I ate in a day with like actually my face and me talking and stuff like that. The other thing that I wanted to do was what I read in a day, because obviously here on BookTube we like reading books, but you read so much during the day. Like you read other things. You have to read for work or for school, or you read articles. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to do the two things together, like everything I ate and everything I read in a day. So this morning I had a cookie, you'll see that earlier, and my coffee, of course. So I'm kind of thinking of like a late breakfast pre-lunch, because just a cookie is not going to do it for me. And then as far as what I've read so far this morning, I did my slow morning routine, which I want to do a video of someday. And then I looked on the internet, I read some emails, so that's not very exciting. The first thing that I really read was an article in The Guardian about why the 1996 version of The Island of Dr. Moreau is a good movie. Okay, so a cat definitely got where a cat wasn't supposed to go. Anyway, so this is part of a series of articles that they've been doing called Hear Me Out, XXX is a good movie. So it's their writers or different journalists or different writers writing about why a movie that is mostly considered to be a bad movie is actually a good movie. I will link the article below with the author's name. And this was about the 1996 version of The Island of Dr. Moreau with Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, and David Thewlis. So I love David Thewlis, one. I think he's a great actor. You might know him as Professor Lupin from the Harry Potter movies, but he's been in a ton of stuff. He's a British actor. He's great. Marlon Brando, obviously iconic, just generally, but also in this movie he plays Dr. Moreau, and it is such a like wild interpretation and portrayal of Dr. Moreau, and it's just Brando at his absolute crazy peak. Like obviously he's known for being really bizarre on set and for doing wild stunts and for being extremely difficult, and this, I mean, is obviously the same. There's a lot of stories about how he like just would bring random people on the set and they would make their way into the movie, or he would, you know, turn up super late, but then be totally not doing what he was supposed to be doing, but then that would make it into the movie. And then Val Kilmer does this like amazing, creepy portrayal of Dr. Moreau's assistant, who you just never know, you know, if he's trustworthy, and ultimately he's not. But Fairuza Balk is Moreau's daughter that he creates. And if you don't know the story of The Island of Dr. Moreau, it is about a man who is shipwrecked and taken to this remote island where this reclusive, mad scientist doctor has been kind of chased to this last resort place to be able to do his experiments. The shipwrecked man is rescued by Dr. Moreau's assistant, and through the story you find out that Dr. Moreau is conducting human experiments with animals, human and animal experiments, by kind of vivisecting, slicing up, and piecing together people and animals and animals and animals and genetic modifying and all this crazy stuff. And it's a great book. You should definitely read it. But this movie is, again, touted as like one of the worst movies ever. Definitely one of the worst movies of the 90s. But it's so great. Like, I love it. The performances are like totally over the top, and that totally fits with the tone of the movie. It's creepy, it's chilling in that like you don't know what's happening, you're on the edge, you're anticipating, you know, you're anxious about what's going to happen. There are all these people who are people but are not people. David Thewlis's performance of being shocked and horrified at kind of every turn of every single thing that happens is perfect, and perfectly sets you up that you feel for that character. And so that's, you know, that's you in the movie. Basically, you're finding out these horrors as he is, and so his reactions really you feel close to, but you also are transferred, his reactions are transferred onto you. So kind of the horror of what's happening as he's finding out, you know, from very small things to huge revelations. Val Kilmer's portrayal is so creepy and charismatic, and his kind of arc over the film is so not drastic, it's actually kind of like a subtle arc where he is like, you're like, oh, this is like kind of a sadistic, mercurial kind of character, to like, oh, these people are all crazy, and am I now crazy for having been with them? And then I also think that one of the things that it was panned for was its practical effects and its special effects, because it does not have very much CGI at all. If any, really, it might have a little bit like of enhancement. In Dr. Moreau, there's a lot of practical effects and a lot of makeup, and some of it works to great results and some of it not so much. The creatures themselves are actually amazing and visceral and kind of everything you want from this creature feature movie. Well, if you have not read The Island of Dr. Moreau, I would read The Island of Dr. Moreau first. And then if you have not seen that version of the movie, I would definitely check it out. It's choppy. They changed directors in the middle. There's actually a whole documentary about how stressful the creation of that movie was and the kind of cult-like status that it evolved on set as well as afterwards. I also am eating some oatmeal, which is just oatmeal with plant milk and maple syrup. And then I think I'm going to, wait, my book's over here, hold on one sec. This is Carry On Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. I am just going to try and finish this book that I've been reading since November. I DNF'd it for a little while and now I'm trying to get through it. I've read this before on audio, but I've never read it with my eyes. So it's a little bit hard to get through because I know everything that's going to happen and I kind of just want to skip to my favorite part.
That's Mr. Pig to you.
While I'm doing this everything I read and everything I ate in a day video, you saw that I had lunch. I made lunch for my husband and I. We just had some pasta. It is a day where I really need to clean out the refrigerator and I need to eat up a lot of the things that we made. I made that sauce from scratch probably 2 or 3 weeks ago and I don't want it to go bad. But it was very simple. It's my favorite pasta, which is a pasta that comes in a cardboard box. Homemade red sauce and Parmesan cheese. My mother-in-law got us cheese. It's not cheese of the month, but it's like a cheese subscription box. So every other month you get 3 cheeses, and the first month we got Gouda, Gruyere, and Parmesan. Had a cookie after that. I'm not going to show you another cookie. I don't think I need to. The next thing that happened was that I read. So I read a little before lunch and I read a little after lunch. And what I read was Carry On Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. It is a bunch of Jeeves and Wooster stories collected together. I'm not sure if it was initially designed as a novel or designed as a bunch of short stories, but is considered a novel. I think it's the 3rd novel in the Jeeves and Wooster series. It's hilarious. It is so funny. It is so silly. It is so outlandish. The timing and cadence of both characters so good, and I'd love to read it. I end up having to like reread passages or reading passages out loud. Sometimes I'll read them to my husband, and it's just really funny. I finished this book. I read a little about this artist, and I read the Wikipedia, the entire Wikipedia on heavy metal magazine. So I just found a bunch of my old heavy metal magazines. I have them actually going back to when the magazine started because my dad collected them and then passed them along to me. I found a bunch in the basement and I was so excited about that. And then it occurred to me that I don't really know much about the magazine besides growing up with the magazines. So I researched that and read the Wikipedia page on that, and I read some of the Wikipedia page on this artist, Ionicus. So I will be linking everything that I read online in the description box below. So if you want to research heavy metal magazine, or if you've never heard of it before, you should definitely check that out. I realized when I tried to film this everything I ate and read in a day that it's too dark in my house. It's the dead of winter and it's ridiculously dark. I am going to do 2 halves of 2 days to make 1 full day. So we had breakfast and lunch of the last day, and we're gonna have snack and dinner of this day. And then as far as reading, the only thing I read at the end of the day was I started this book, Sharp Teeth by Tobey Barlow. I only read about 15 pages, and it is a book about werewolves, and it is told in, oh, that was a good page to open to. It's got several different kind of books to it, and it is all told in verse. So I realized picking this up that I've never read a book in verse, and it's very popular right now. I don't know if I'm going to stick with this one. Wow, it was only published in 2008, so 12 years ago. But it seems really dated. I'm finding in light of what is happening in the world that I'm struggling to read or watch things that normally I wouldn't have had a problem with. Now I find myself like really affected by those things. So this already in the beginning has element to it that I'm not like stoked on. Also, look at Marty. I am going to be eating a snack, and it is just some buttered noodles with salt and pepper. So I'm gonna eat this snack, and then I'm gonna make dinner, which is really gonna be lunch, but we're gonna call it dinner for this video. I just realized that this video is gonna have pasta and then pasta. Whatever, I love pasta. I eat a lot of pasta. We are splicing together 2 days. What you saw was our dinner. The other day I made a curry with just one of those jarred Indian sauces. It had sweet potatoes, chickpeas, onions, garlic, spices, and some tomato sauce in there, and then I served it over rice, and then I also had it with mango chutney because I think you need to eat mango chutney, it's delicious. One of the things that I've been reading this whole day is the IMDb page for Law & Order Criminal Intent, because we are watching Law & Order Criminal Intent, and it's a wild ride. I've been reading a lot of that IMDb page. I will list it below. While we had dinner, I read another 50 pages or so, and I am liking it. It's written in verse, which is weird. I've never read a book written in verse, but I think this one, because it's a lot of action and a lot of dialogue, doesn't feel like verse. It just feels like very small sentences, which I think is interesting. So far, it is about a man who gets a job as a dog catcher. He is a little bit lonely, he's a little bit solitary, and you don't really know why. You don't get a lot of his background story or his character story yet. Finally finds a job as a dog catcher, and he hates the people who are catching the dog. He hates how cruel they are. He hates how mean to the dogs they are. He hates that the dogs are dying, but he likes his job, and he finds himself enjoying being with the dogs and having a knack for being with the dogs. He gets on better with the dogs than the other people, probably because the other people are assholes and they're really cruel. And then the other story that we're following is a pack leader who is also a lawyer. He has a very passive way of leading the pack. They have to be hidden from humanity, obviously, but he has his fingers in multiple pies and he has multiple schemes going on. So you learn that some of his pack is kind of pursuing a line of inquiry to, you're not sure if it's like a money source or another pack or exactly what, but they're playing like competitive cards somewhere, but that's how they're kind of infiltrating the system. And then one of his pack members is infiltrating another pack that he's recently discovered a few miles away, and so he sent one of his trusted pack to go and infiltrate that pack and kind of see what the story is and see if they're violent and like whatever. He believes that he knows of other packs, but the other packs don't know of him. And then the third kind of pie he has his finger in is he has sent one of his pack members to become a dog catcher where our main character, Anthony, is working. And the way that he is infiltrating the dog catcher world is the female of the pack is getting to know Anthony and getting Anthony to like her so that he will give her brother, her pack brother, a job. It's interesting. Stuff is just starting to like go down. Oh, and then I ate another cookie. So mostly I read a few articles, I finished a book, and I started a book. I definitely read a lot every day. I read an article here or there. I read some emails. I read IMDb pages. What was the point of this experiment? I don't really know. It's interesting that, just like you might think of food that you eat in a day as, you know, 3 squares, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're really eating a lot more other things in between. That's the same with reading. You might think of yourself as just reading one book and finishing one and starting another or whatever, but really you're reading lots of little things in between. It was fun. So if you've read any interesting bookish articles lately, definitely post them down below. Thanks so much. Bye. Now Marty's trying to get in. Everyone's trying to get in. Jeez.